We are live. Welcome to another coronavirus journal. We're trapped inside. We don't have much else to talk about. Although Dell released an interesting laptop today. We can talk about that later. Let me make sure that I've got this silenced here. And then we can go ahead and get to the video clips of the day. Journal! So, let's watch this first video clip.
You know, as a police officer, I'm compelled to make this video. I've been in law enforcement for 10 years, and I'm speaking to my peers, other fellow officers, people in any kind of law enforcement position. I've seen officers nationwide enforcing tyrannical orders against the people, and I'm hoping it's the minority of officers, but I'm not sure anymore, because every time I turn on the television, every time I look to the internet, I'm seeing people arrested or cited for going to church, for traveling on the roadways, for going surfing, opening their businesses, going to the park with their families, or doing nails out of their own house, using their own house as a place of business, and having undercover agents go there and arrest them and charge them with what? With a crime? I don't know what crime people are committing by doing nails in their own house, but we're seeing this more and more and more, and we need to start looking at ourselves as officers and thinking, is what I'm doing right? Now, I want to remind you that regardless of where you stand on the coronavirus, we don't have the authority to do those things to people just because a mayor or a governor tells you otherwise. I don't care if it's your sergeant or your chief of police. We don't get to violate people's constitutional rights because somebody in our chain of command tells us otherwise. It's not how this country works.
So this guy is a police officer, I believe, in Seattle. And I have a second video where he kind of goes through some of the constitutional laws that are being broken. But I see his point in a lot of this, but it also feels like we're in a place that we've never been before.
Well, what are people talking about with the audio? Like, I'm looking at our audio levels here. They look clean.
Yeah, I just listened to it on the iPad. You might have heard a little bleed back, and it sounded fine.
You know, as a police officer, I'm compelled to make this video.
Maybe people's ears are just bad. Their ears are hurting for other
I don't
reasons.
get it. Like, every time I check it, it looks good. I'm looking on the levels here. It looks good.
Maybe they've been swimming in the ocean. They got ear infections.
I'm not sure. Sorry if there's been a problem, but you got to be more specific as to what's going on because it looks like everything's right. So this is just one police video that came out today?
Maybe it came out like a week ago or a couple days ago, but he's just arguing that he, as a police officer, feels like it's not his job or he even has the power to go arrest people or fine people for doing normal things that you could do outside of the COVID situation.
Right.
And he feels like maybe the argument that he's making is like this should go in front of the courts. This can't just be a governor who is making a law and then telling the police officers or a chief of police telling you that you need to...
Somebody is just saying that that police officer was supposedly fired.
Really?
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And so I have another video queued up here where he talks about some of the constitutional rights that we have as people. And I guess I see what he's saying, but I also see the other side where we've never really faced this as a country before.
Right.
You know, yes, you have the right to assembly, you have the right to freedom of religion, you have the right, proper search and seizures, but you being out on the road, is that reason to do a proper search and seizure? Like, is that reasonable cause because you're out on the road already?
Right.
I don't really know. It seems like a gray area to me, but I know a lot of these constitutional law people, maybe that's who this police officer is, are really gung-ho about it. I don't know if you want to play the second video just to see the final little bit that he talks about.
Meaning our power and any government official's power is derived from the people, okay? We don't hold power over our citizens. It's contradictory to everything that our country stands for. And this is what I'm seeing. First Amendment rights, telling people they can't go to church, freedom of religion, okay? Telling people they can't protest, freedom of assembly. Fourth Amendment violations, illegal traffic stops to check for papers. What are you, the Gestapo? Is this 1930s Nazi Germany? You don't get to stop people unless you have reasonable suspicion or probable cause that they have committed a crime. And I know people that have personally been stopped saying, we want to see papers showing that you're essential.
David 2, copy a phone call.
That is not how our job works, okay?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know where I fall in this argument. I certainly see the point that he's trying to make. I understand that argument, but like you said, if it's for the greater good, I'm sure, you know, in a time of war, there's a lot of strange laws that we bend and break and change in the midst of an emergency.
Somebody's saying that the gun in the background has a silencer on it. I don't know if that's an M5 or an AR-15, some kind of, you know, rifle. But why would a police officer have a silencer on his gun if that's what that is?
I don't know. Are they not supposed to have silencers on their guns?
I mean, I think you need like extra stamps and stuff. Like, I don't think owning a silencer is an easy thing to do. Now, maybe
I agree, but I figured police officers and SWAT and all that don't have to jump through the same hoops as a standard citizen.
Maybe it's like a courtesy, you know? Because a silencer doesn't make a gun silent, but it depresses the sound a lot.
Yeah.
But, you know, how many shots are you doing to where you need a silencer, like, in public? I don't know. But we'll have to look into this. If anyone has an article about this officer being fired, I mean, that's kind of crazy, too. I mean, I would be scared to make a video like that if you had an employer. I mean, that's kind of the world we live in.
Well, it's not, you know, not just the fact that he's a police officer, but any job. If you have some job, especially a public office job, you know, you're paid by taxpayers, and then you come out and basically say that whatever the government's doing is wrong or illegal or unconstitutional or whatever, I mean, somebody's going to get upset about that.
Yeah, apparently that is a flash suppressor, not a silencer. He just goes on in this video and he kind of says, like, we already have distrust with police officers. Every now and then there's a case like we've seen recently. I guess that was not a police officer. Maybe that guy was a retired police officer. But we've had
Well, there was this new one. You heard about this new one where the police went to the wrong person's house and they were dressed. They were undercover cops. They break into the wrong person's house. I think the boyfriend starts shooting at the cops because he just assumes somebody's breaking into his house. And I don't know if he died, but they shoot the woman who I guess was sleeping or whatever, and it wasn't even the right house.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy. I can't believe you haven't heard of that one.
I mean, I haven't really been on the news a whole lot.
Yeah.
Unless it's been coronavirus stuff. But he just goes on to say, like, there's already enough reasons for people to distrust the police.
Right.
And the second you now tell me I have to go fine or jail people for doing their jobs or opening their business or congregating, or I'm hearing all these weird laws, like maybe in Florida and Miami you can hang out 3 people at a time on the beach, but if you have 4 or 5 people, unless it's family members, there's all these like weird laws, you know. And so I can see where like the police start bothering you and you're like, hey, I'm here with my family, or you have the one person that sees you and stops to talk and now you're a group of 4 and you all get fines, or you go to jail, or the lady in Texas who went in front of the judge and not only did she get jail time, but then she also got fined $1,000 a day. Like, it doesn't look good for the judge. It doesn't look good for the police officers. I don't know how she was reported. And then I think the governor pardoned her, or like removed all, like she never did serve the jail time or something. He lifted all of that. But I don't know. I just feel like this is an easy way to get the citizens to go against the police. And I think that was the main argument he was making, is why are we the ones put here to carry these out when this doesn't even really feel like it's true law?
I think it's a very fair point. Gosh, if he's fired for that, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I feel like people should be able to have a debate, but at the same time, he's on the clock. Is this what he should be doing when he's on the... Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not on the clock. Maybe he just got off of work, so I don't know. That's a tough one.
Why don't you go to the last video because it kind of plays off of this as well.
Okay.
So today in the Wisconsin Supreme Court, they overruled the governor's decision to put a new stay in place.
Okay.
And so here we're seeing it kind of play out in the law.
Okay.
As we first told you at 5, the Wisconsin Supreme Court is blocking Governor Evers' decision to extend the safer at home order to May 26th.
Republican legislators argued the extension amounted to State Department of
Seem
Health.
like, sorry, I'm watching the spike just go up and hit red, and then all of a sudden it'll be lower. So I wonder if it's, you know, causing some sort of interference or something.
Human Services Secretary Andrea Palm writing rules without legislative input. No guidance has been offered on what this move means for social distancing restrictions or any business closures at this time. We'll continue to keep you updated as more information comes in on air and online.
I wish I knew a little bit more about the intricacies of this. Now, this happened today, and I think it was a partisan vote. So it was a bipartisan vote. It was like 5-4. You know, it's along party lines and everything. But is this going to now get escalated to the Supreme Court? You know, are these governors allowed to do this? And how will that affect, you know, kind of the narrative that we've had with Trump?
Yeah.
At some moments, Trump has said, we need to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I shut down the flights, and I locked the country down, although he really didn't. But then on the other hand, at times, he says it's up to the states to make their decisions, you know?
Yeah.
I think this is going to flesh out a lot of constitutional laws and state rights and who can put these stay-at-order laws in place. You know, we're dealing with that here in Puerto Rico, and there's a lot of people in this community who are saying our governor doesn't have the right to do this, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to golf, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to go to the beaches. I have the right to do this. You can't make me stay in place, you know, and I'm sure there's a lot of people throughout the island, not just in our community, that are kind of resisting this.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, and here in Puerto Rico it's a little different because we are one level removed from even the United States. We're always kind of in this gray area. At times we're under U.S. law, and then other times we're under these like older, antiquated Puerto Rican laws. But if you're in the United States, you know, what is the law? Can Florida just say, hey, you can't go to the beach? It seems like every little town is making a totally different decision.
Yep.
And sometimes those decisions are different than what the state is saying. And those decisions are sometimes different than what the country is saying. So to hold certain people accountable, you can see where this is just a big mess. And this is just the beginning of it. What happens when we start seeing some states are going to have second waves and other states are going to feel like we never really had the first wave? I feel like the second wave, we could see a lot more resistance to closing down and reopening up, more so the first time. The first time, everyone was just a little scared. So we all said, we'll go along with it.
Right.
And they printed money and they gave us enough money to, you know, cover a couple months. But what happens when that money is not there anymore? What happens when it's not as cut and dry, when one state does something different than the other state? I could see this being a really big mess in the next couple months.
I definitely can too. I mean, I think people can only take so much. Although I guess if you print enough money and you just give people enough money, maybe you can convince the majority of people just to stay inside, especially if they make more money by staying inside than actually working.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of people out there, especially our photography community, that they want to create. They want to interact with people. The only way they interact with people is when they go out and do work.
Yeah.
You can only stay home so long for a percentage of people.
Yeah.
Now, there is a large percentage, I think we argue this a lot, that would be fine to say, hey, I get to play video games and sit at home, watch Netflix all day, and I get more money and not have to do the work. I think a lot of people would go for that, but I think there is a percentage of people, maybe it's only 10%, that love their jobs and do want to get out and start doing work again. I feel like my dad's one of them. He's at the age of, he could retire right now, but he loves his work so much that he actually wants to get back out and work.
Right. Have they opened? What's their deal?
Yesterday was their first day. I have not talked to them. I'm planning on talking to them tonight to see, but I saw some pictures. It sounds like things went well. But, you know, they're making people sign a document that says, have you traveled? And I'm like, why does that matter? It's in our country now. Why is traveling abroad even a thing? They're checking the temperature. I don't get that either. I mean, it's something you can do, but it feels like What if you're on day 3 and you're asymptomatic and you won't have a temperature for another week? What is checking the
Or
temperature?
you never get a temperature.
Yeah. So I don't really know what all those things do, but I'll talk to him tonight and figure out. Because my dad's been installing all these extra vacuums that he'll put right next to the patient that pull the air even more.
Yeah.
And stuff. So there's a lot of protocols he's having to do. I don't know if they're dictated by the state or by the dental association or if they're more or less recommendations. But there's a lot of things that have been suggested, and now he's trying to figure out exactly what to do.
Well, we can watch this quick clip. This is about Nancy Pelosi's $3 trillion stimulus.
So fill me in on this. I have not heard anything about.
You know, I'm sure this is the type of thing that will never pass or whatever, but I haven't learned that much about it. But there is just this one interesting clip that this guy was saying that I recorded. Everybody, remove your headphones if it's about to explode your eardrums when I start playing this. We'll try to get to the bottom of it after the show.
If we were to pass that god-awful bill of $3 trillion for the first time since World War II, the government sector of our economy, Melissa, would be larger than our private sector, all the output of all our businesses across the country. I mean, that's a scary idea. I don't think even Bernie Sanders could have ever imagined something like that in the United States. So I do think that Nancy Pelosi is overstepped here. I think most Americans are aghast at what she's talking about. Most of the spending in this bill has nothing to do with relief from an emergency health situation. It's just basically a big grab bag of spending.
It didn't look like that one spiked. That one was like extra quiet. And I was at 100% volume on that one.
Did I miss what Nancy Pelosi said?
I didn't, I mean, you know, it's like a $3 trillion bill, so it didn't go into details. But he was basically saying if this was passed, then the spending of the government would be more than all U.S. businesses combined, just for this one
So we've
bill.
done a $4 trillion stimulus bill. Is there something that's about to be passed now, or these are all just being proposed and we're weeks away from something?
I think this one is just being proposed, but to be perfectly honest, I have not done enough research on this to fully understand what they were talking about. I was kind of just watching this video clip, just laughing at this guy saying how bad of an idea it was, but then I did not go down the rabbit hole of actually trying to figure out how close it was to being passed and what exactly was in it. But he was just saying it's a horrible, horrible idea.
Yeah, somebody said Stephen Moore is a joke of an analyst.
Don't even know who that is.
Touche Films is saying the second wave hit here in Santiago today. It was about 300 cases a day for a week, so they relaxed the quarantine. But we had 2,600 new cases today.
Whoa!
2,600.
How much normally?
Normally it was 300 a case.
300?
300 cases a day.
Okay.
For a week. I was
Wow.
reading that I was trying to find a video. I like to show videos more than articles for this format. But they were saying that Texas opened up at the beginning of the month, and they were starting to go down, and now they've had 5 days straight of 1,000 cases, new cases a day.
What was a normal day for Texas?
I don't know, but they made it sound like it was definitely flattening out, and then now this is.
I've seen that same headline, and then when I tried to get the actual useful data, which is, well, what's normal? Is 950 normal?
Yeah.
Then 1,000 is nothing, or is 50 normal, and we have a spike of 950.
I think we've been locked down now. I mean, we are approaching 60 days being locked down here.
Yeah.
So I think the rest of America, maybe New York could be close to what we are, but a lot of America is probably on day 30 or 40. So there's, a couple weeks behind where we are. I would think Texas would have locked down, and they probably never got that bad to begin with. And then I don't know if you have your world of meters up there, if you want to see how many cases and deaths and everything Texas had, but we would think that Texas would already be declining with any kind of stay-at-home order.
So we've got 1.4 million cases in the U.S., 85,000 deaths. And Texas has 43,000 cases total. I mean, it's very difficult. I don't know if I can click on this and it'll show daily.
Well, do they have a graph now? I think they just do the counties.
Really? They don't put a graph at the bottom of this?
Nah, they do. This seems new.
So see, this shows me that that article is bullshit. Because look at all the dates over 1,000. It has not been going down the last week.
I think what they're saying is look at April 29th. That, like, they reopened. Now there they have 1,300 on the 1st, or April 29th. Go over one. 1,400 there on April 29th.
Right.
But I guess maybe at the peak of it was April 8th, and then they did the shutdown, and maybe it trends down a little bit. But I don't really know what to make of this
Like,
graph.
hold on. If they're closed this day and then they're open this day, it's not like, oh, everybody caught it the second we went outside. That's not how it works. So I think that's some fake news right there.
So are you saying the lockdown didn't help Texas, or that, I mean, how do you
I
read
don't
that?
know about that. I'm just saying I think it's too quick to jump to conclusions and go, oh my gosh, they came out of lockdown and immediately there was a wave of more infections.
If anyone's in, Houston or Austin or Dallas, I'd be interested to know, did you feel like those cities were locked down? Because if anyone's going to defy the lockdown, it's going to be southern states, and Texas is kind of its own entity in the United States. It's like you have Florida and Texas, which act on their own. Then you have the South and the Southeast, which kind of acts on their own. But I'd be curious to know what it was like in Texas the last month or two, because I would bet most people just didn't shelter in place in Texas. It's so spread out, it has a different culture.
Speaking of infections, I recorded 2 clips today from CNN talking about these 2 infected areas, a church choir, and a call center, where they were able to go back and do tracing and stuff and figure out how exactly it was transmitted and who transmitted it to who and under what circumstances. So let's watch this clip here, and we can talk about it.
That they've heard about this choir practice in Washington State, and I want to put up a map of this. 45 of 60 choir members were infected. 2 died after a 2.5-hour rehearsal. That's when one person showed up with the virus. Now, what is it about the space, the duration, and the nature of singing that might have led to this?
Yeah, so it's important to know that it wasn't a sick person as well. It was an asymptomatic person that didn't even know that they did have the virus came. And this community choir did everything right with space and separation, and it was before it. But when you're singing, you're really, pulling down, like from your diaphragm, you're really pushing a lot of air out. And it expels a lot more respiratory droplets into the air. It's believed those respiratory droplets are a little bit finer than what comes out through normal talking. And being in an enclosed space and singing like that for a number of hours just allows it to, build up in the environment around you.
So I found that to be pretty disturbing. Was it 86% of people surrounding this lady who was singing, and they had space in between them?
Is this the choir that we talked about like 2 months ago, the very
Maybe
beginning?
so. It could be, because
And how many people now? 80% or
it was
80?
like 86% of people
Had
got it.
gotten COVID? How many people died?
2.
Okay, that sounds like about what it was.
87% of the group developed COVID-19. All from one person who was completely asymptomatic. And I get it, singing, is maybe a little bit more different than, just being around coworkers or something. But imagine all the crazy people on the subways in New York. There's always somebody screaming. Always a fight about to happen.
Yeah.
Always people singing on the subway, so it can spread that easy. That's pretty crazy.
Well, go to the, you wanted to open the next one?
Yeah, I got one other shot here.
I want to put up another chart here. This is of a call center in South Korea. You've talked a lot about airflow in circulation. What you can see here is that the blue chairs are the chairs of the people who became infected. And you can see it's only in one side of this call center. What does this tell you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of petitions in that room, in that particular floor. It seems to be a very large floor of a building, but it's quite clear that being again in an enclosed space with lots of people just, gives the virus lots of fuel, lots of bodies that it can find and jump between. And
so is he suggesting that that's in the same building and that the AC did not transport it to the room just adjacent to them?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that diagram shows the HVAC ductwork as well, but I think it's kind of creepy that it could spread, all the way across that entire room and then couldn't make it into any of the other offices and stuff that had, hallways and corridors.
I guess I didn't see what that was well enough. It looked like one big room and then another room that had nothing.
So I'll pull it up real quick one more time here.
But, I bet those call centers, they're little cubicles, like office space. That's got to be better than the plexiglass cubicles they're making in restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather be in a room with the push pin walls where you can put documents up?
Yes.
That seems safer than
Right.
some acrylic.
So if you look at this, I believe all of these are desks. These are offices or bathrooms in here.
There's a staircase
These are desks.
in the middle, yeah.
These are desks. So a few people got it here, but you can just see how many people got it all in this one room. It's pretty wild.
Go to the description in this video. I had a couple links in there. One of them was kind of interesting.
Okay.
If you click on the last one, do we need to reinvent the toilet? And basically, this was going back to my my toilet paper hypothesis that people were buying toilet paper because they actually needed toilet paper because 10% of people who have COVID develop diarrhea. And basically, this was just saying that so many of our stalls in America, you can see under them and you can see over them. And
no one likes that.
No one likes that, but when you flush a toilet, that aerosols a lot of feces that's in the toilet, much more than we would ever want to believe. And if coronavirus could be present in your fecal matter, could this be a hot spot? Which I wonder, going back to the video you just played, if the people on one side of the office, they had to have been using the same toilets, you would think. Maybe it's just one toilet and it's not a bunch of stalls. But the more people that you fit into a restroom with toilets, like, think of sports games. You go to a stadium or you go to a concert where there's just bathrooms everywhere. Like, that's a lot. There's a lot greater chance for that to get spread in the bathrooms.
Absolutely.
So that article was just saying, should we be reinventing sinks that have deeper basins, kind of like they have in surgical rooms? The deeper the basin, it kind of keeps it all down there low, as opposed to having it high and it's splattering out. Could we have some kind of toilet, or at least stalls, that are kind of more like the gender-neutral bathrooms, where you have your own room, which I love.
Yeah, those are the best.
I don't like using the restroom and then knowing that people can see the shoes I'm wearing.
Yeah.
And then when I go back out into the bar,
Yeah.
Walmart, they're like, oh, there's the guy with the orange shoes.
There's the pooper right there.
Yeah, there he is. Or I don't like wearing my my sandal, those UGG shoes that Katie got me. I don't like wearing those in the bathrooms there, and then somebody right next to me can see them.
When do you like wearing those?
I like just wearing them when I drive because they give me airflow, but they still make me feel like I'm in control.
That's true. It's like a racing shoe.
Yeah, like sandals, flip-flops. I just always feel like at any moment, if that thong breaks, my foot's sliding out and I'm dead.
That's true. Let's see. I think we got a couple more video clips here.
Somebody made a comment that it doesn't seem like Lee wants to be here. And you do feel a little out of it, I have to say.
I've had a bit of a rough day today.
Yeah?
Not as rough as other days where I was really getting down, but today I filmed and edited 2 videos by myself twice. I filmed 2 videos, got back to the computer to edit them, and then realized that my microphone was not plugged in the final 1/4 millimeter. It was barely out. So the mic that was recording was the camera's mic and not my lab.
Oh, no.
And so I'm listening to this oh my gosh, this sounds so bad. What happened to my microphone? And then I realized my lab wasn't working. But wait, I was watching the thing move. So there was a mic that was working.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anyone here to monitor. So I had to refilm everything, edit the videos, and then I went to like work out, and then by the time I got back, I didn't have enough time to shower and stuff before we went live. I also didn't get a nap today. And while I'm doing all of this, you are putting this entire family in jeopardy by going to Caguas and getting P.F. Chang's.
Boy's got to get some P.F. Chang's, man.
No, a boy doesn't.
We drove right up. They came out with a bag, handed us the bag. I feel like it wasn't,
And they were just in the bathroom with the feces spray.
Potentially, but P.F. Chang's, they got those nice stalls in there. But I'm hoping, like, we haven't seen many articles yet about coronavirus being spread through food. And can you take a spoonful of rice and eat it and digest it and get coronavirus, or will your stomach kill that? I don't know that I would suspect it could go through the food, but if that was the case, it would be...
But if the virus is in the food, what's the chance that 100% of it will get in your mouth and go in your stomach, and not a single part of it will go up into your nose or down into your...
How do you eat?
What are you talking about? Like the virus going down your esophagus? You're telling me when I'm breathing, it's not like there's no connecting pipes back there?
I mean, if you have like 1,000 pieces of rice in a meal, how many of those pieces of rice go down your...
See, I don't think that's a fair way to look at it. If I'm putting rice in my mouth, and then like a piece of rice is on the side of my mouth, and I rub my mouth now, and then I rub my nose, it's like, boom, I'm putting
you're right.
it in there.
I'm kind of arguing with you to argue.
Right.
Once it gets into your mouth, it feels like it could then go anywhere in your respiratory system. But I don't know. It wasn't that bad. I was more concerned. We parked the car in the shade. I didn't want to drive 40 minutes back and have my food cold. So we let the back of the car up. We just had a little picnic in the parking lot. And then when we were 90% of the way done, Kristen's like, oh my gosh, there's somebody coming. And I look, and there's like this homeless guy beelining it like over median, like he wasn't walking like towards us. He was coming right at us. And I was like, I don't want to deal with COVID. I don't want to deal with a beggar. I got like this whole spread of P.F. Chang's. I was like, we got to close the car and we got to go.
You ran away from that helpless man.
I did.
How could you?
I felt bad, but I was like, I can't argue with him in Spanish about the coronavirus and food. And
did he have a mask on?
No, he didn't have a mask on. I was like, I got to get out of here. So it cut our dinner a little short, but I got some leftovers upstairs. So.
What an asshole. What an asshole. All right, what's next? Do we have any more? Oh, that might be all the videos that we have.
You played the $3 trillion.
Yeah, inflammatory syndrome. We haven't had this, right?
No. This is something you probably already know about.
And now to that really troubling development in COVID-19 complications for children. At least 3 children now.
So I'm watching it hit red, but I'm listening to it and it's not loud.
But we are almost hitting red.
We always hit a little red, but I watched that just hit all the way to the top. So sorry, everybody. Let's try again. Cover your ears.
Have died in New York State from a rare inflammatory syndrome
and look, now it's so quiet.
To the coronavirus. Hospitals have identified at least 73 cases among toddlers and elementary school-aged children in New York State. I'm joined now by 2 doctors from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Dr. Joshua Sharfstein is the Vice Dean of Public Health Practice and Community Engagement. Dr. Tom Inglesby is the Director of the Center for Health Security. Thank you both. Dr. Sharfstein, first to you. This is so troubling because, first of all, the symptoms sometimes mimic other common symptoms among children with, let's say, an allergy. Parents are not identifying it as quickly as they might because there hasn't been enough publicity about this. What would you tell parents of children now with this really strange syndrome?
Sure. Well, this is a very concerning development because this kind of response to an infection, which has been seen before in other circumstances and is very rare, can be quite serious. And as you can see, can even be fatal. I think it's really important for parents to be attentive to their kids. Obviously, fevers, strange rashes, conjunctivitis in the eyes, and cracked lips, all of those things together are what people are worried about, and have a low threshold to call the pediatrician and talk it over. I know there are a lot of pediatricians out there who would love to get that call and be of assistance.
Interesting. So that's kind of what we touched on yesterday. We're still, these numbers
seem so low.
Well, but when you look at like 20% of children have no pre-existing conditions, but then you're like, but wait, it's all of this has to do with 48 children. all of this. So I'm not saying it's not serious for these 48 children or whatever, but don't get sucked into just these numbers, because are these 48 children in all of the United States? Is this 48 children in all of the world? I haven't ever seen that data. Do you know?
I do not know. There's so much I don't know. One thing I haven't figured out about this software is that we can put a limiter on our media player, but it will still surpass the limiter, right? In Premiere, if you put a limiter and say -10, it will never hit above -10. It'll start to do that compressed sound. And if it was compressed so much, it starts to sound a little distorted, kind of, but it's never actually getting past that threshold.
Right.
But on this, it seems to jump it.
I need to do some more tests when we go off the air, because I don't know that I've seen it go beyond the limiter, but I have certainly seen it clip when it shouldn't be clipping. The limiter should be keeping it from clipping, but it's not. So it's coming in a little lower, but it still sounds really loud and distorted. So yes, we do need to figure it out.
People are saying when you cook food, it should kill the virus. Of course, when you cook food, but what happens after it's cooked? You're putting it in the packaging, and you're taking it to deliver it, and you know, you have lettuce, you have things that are not. We got those lettuce wraps. Those are good too.
Yeah.
But you know, what happens to the lettuce? Like, that's not even cooked. No heat's killing the virus there.
Well, I've heard that isn't lettuce one of the most dangerous foods that people eat? Don't you get more salmonella from salad than you do from any meat?
Yeah. You buy spinach and it's like quadruple washed, you know, and you're like, what is going? And then you got to wash it a fifth time.
Yeah. So you put yourself and all of us in danger because you were greedy and wanted that P.F. Chang's. And now I'm a little upset about the whole situation because you came in here.
You were thrown under the bus.
And you like wrecked my filming, first of all. And you were like, I'm going to P.F. Chang's. And I'm like, cool. What are you going to get us? And you said, well, Katie said you didn't want anything. And I'm like, why would Katie say that?
That's what she said. She texted.
I know. So then I call Katie and I'm like, why did you tell them not to get any P.F. Chang's? And she said, because I figured Patrick and Kristen were going to eat it in the parking lot. And then when they brought it back to us, it'd be cold and gross. And there's not that many good vegetarian options there anyway. And we've got our own little Asian place here in our neighborhood. So we should just go here. And I thought, all right, that's a pretty reasonable explanation. And then I didn't even have time to eat dinner because I went on the bike ride and everything, so I had cereal for dinner. So I'm jealous. I wish I had the P.F. Chang's.
I mean, that was the debate. Do we get the P.F. Chang's and just drive right back and eat it here? Or we probably would have done that if we had your food. Or if you guys would have gone, but you were...
I was working. I was supporting this household. What were you doing?
I worked a lot today too. Like I'll share in a minute. I almost have like a whole project done in like 2 days. Talk about being productive. I came up with a whole new photo project for this video. I have to make a video like you did, and then I'm starting the video idea, and then I was like, let me just make the whole project and then make the video. And so it's pretty cool. I'll share it here in a bit. But I have a couple other links in the description of this video.
Okay.
One of them is a study, you don't have to necessarily click on it, but it's a study that's saying vitamin D was not present in very high levels in some of these countries where the death rate was really high. Like in Italy, vitamin D levels they're finding look like they're pretty low, and vitamin D seems to be playing a huge role in COVID deaths from the cytokine storm. That's where all your cells flush out in your lungs and you die from the pneumonia. It's like one element of a way people are dying. And they're also saying that perhaps this explains, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people in nursing homes are dying, but a lot of people in nursing homes probably get outside very little.
That's true.
So the older that you are, especially if you're locked up in a house, in a nursing home, you're going to have very low vitamin D levels as well. So I don't think it's vitamin D is the answer necessarily, but we've been saying this from the beginning, that maybe vitamin D and zinc and some of these really common anti-inflammatory vitamins, minerals that you take normally, could play a big role in this. And there's now studies coming out that are talking about that. Scroll down to, what was another link that I had in there. Somebody on Reddit was just saying, related to the vitamin D, was that it seems like a lot more African Americans are dying of COVID here in America. And there's been some studies, and this link, there's been newer studies since the one that I posted, but it does seem that African Americans may not absorb vitamin D less, but once it's absorbed, it's broken down differently. The metabolism of vitamin D within African Americans is different from other Americans. And these have been studies that people have been doing for decades now. And, you know, they kind of change, and I don't think the study that I linked to is absolutely the newest one, but that could be one explanation on why people of color might be dying at a higher rate. It also could be, you know, if they have more underlying conditions, their diet could be worse. You know, anytime you make less money and you're closer to poverty, you're going to have more health issues generally too. So I don't know that vitamin D is the total answer here, but
it's so hard for me to imagine there are people out there who are currently eating worse than I have been eating for the last 60 days. I have been eating the most junk food and fast food imaginable. I'm probably putting my health at risk for COVID by all of the crap I am consuming.
The only crap I feel like I eat on a daily basis is all these cupcakes and cookies and brownies. If the girls would just stop making that stuff, I feel like I'd be doing really well. But I feel like the girls take sanctuary in making this stuff more than I do.
Yeah,
I don't
then
need,
it's there, so you
I
gotta
don't
eat it.
need brownies every day or cookies every day to feel good about myself, but I think they are enjoying the process of baking a new recipe. And then they got the cookies and they like the chocolate. And I'm like, I don't need any of that, but it's definitely not.
If you don't need it, then you don't need to be eating it.
It's just so hard when you have a dinner and you've eaten dinner and then you wash your dishes and you turn and there's the cookies right there. I'm like, man.
Yep.
Yeah, was there anything else? Was there one more article that I had linked down there I was just going to mention? Oh, Spain has done this really thorough test, and they feel like only 5% of the entire population in Spain has been infected. Now, this is from Reuters, but it's a very small article. Like, there's not a whole lot in here.
But Spain has had a horrific mortality rate.
Yeah. And so it's kind of scary to think that I want to believe that this first wave, 10, 20, 30% of us already got coronavirus, and maybe it went completely undetected, and maybe we're a third of our way on to herd immunity, if that even exists. Spain's at 5%. That's not
even close.
Not even close. So that is not a good sign if that's the goal. And it also means that maybe the death rate is higher. We keep saying, you know, with these tests coming out of Stanford and out of New York, that it looks like way more people have it than what we thought. They're testing inmates and large populations. People already have it. There was a way to get the death rate down to 0.5%. But if only 5% of people in Spain have it, then maybe the death rate really is that high.
I saw a video today of inmates who were purposefully infecting themselves with COVID.
I don't want to know how.
They were just all like drinking out of the same cup and stuff. And this officer was like, they succeeded and they all got it. And they were doing it because they thought that if more of them got it, then more of them would be released. Remember how they were letting people out early? And he was like, we're not letting any of these guys out.
Well, did you hear Paul Manafort was released today?
Who is that?
That is one of the cronies behind Trump's election that went to jail, actually went to prison. I can't remember how much time he got, but they just released him today on house arrest because of COVID-19. And apparently he was in a jail where wasn't even really affected by it. I don't know all the details. I don't know how many. I'm sure somebody...
What did this guy do?
I don't really know.
I don't either. I've seen a couple of articles recently about, you remember that Trump video we posted where they were like, you tweeted about Obamagate and Obama perpetrating the worst thing in presidential history. What exactly did he do? And he was like, it's obvious. Anyone can read the newspapers except yours. And I was like, I honestly don't know what he's talking about. And since then, I've seen a lot of people on social media being like, hey, I'm being serious. I'm not joking. What is he talking about? I have no idea. But I've seen a couple of articles saying that it might be true, that Obama did do something, like, again, I haven't gone down too deep in this rabbit hole, but these seem like legitimate news sources saying that Obama did things to purposefully try to destroy Trump's presidential campaign or election or whatever.
Yeah, they've been talking about this for years. I mean, this is the whole deep state and drain the swamp and all that kind of stuff.
But I don't know. It seemed like something new had come out in the last
do you
day or two.
remember? Oh, man, this is a long time ago. But do you remember when Trump was saying that like Trump Towers was bugged and like they were listening in and all that stuff?
I do remember something like that.
It all goes back to that, and I don't think there's any evidence that says his phone calls were tapped. I think that was a lie that Trump said.
Okay.
But there is something in there that like Obama was allowing these FISA courts to go beyond where they should have, and they wouldn't redact the names and all of this. Like, that was such a long time ago, but there was a seed of it back then, you know?
Right.
And I read something today that just said, like, anytime a president from any country knows that there's corruption in the upcoming president that's about to take over, those presidents, in the effort to save the country, almost always start doing things that might be beyond their, legal limits in an effort to try to protect the nation from something they feel like is, criminal.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that really makes it right, but you could use some vague statement like that. Say, like, this is what's always happened over all these presidencies, over all these countries, both European and in America. You could say that, and it's like, well, but does that make it right at any given moment? If you go to the Apple TV,
yes,
I will share this project that I've been working on all day. So I'm
glad to see some work getting done in here.
Some work has been getting done, so I have to come up with a new video. We need to get some videos on our channel. And I said, what if I did some cool lighting setup with these pedals for guitar? And I was thinking, how could I do everything all in camera without having to blend in multiple frames like I did with the guitar shoot that I did a while back?
Okay.
So this is a 2-light setup, and I'll show you how I do that very soon. But I took the picture, and I was like, oh, this is great for the lesson. And then I thought, man, this is really cool. So then I started doing many more of them. And I just went down this rabbit hole of photographing many of the pedals that I have using the same sort of technique. Basically, the technique is you shoot the pedals on white, and then you can make the background anything that you want. And then I was like, man, this looks kind of cool. You get to see the insides of them. And then I was like, what if I didn't make it just a color, but I actually bought some stock imagery to make the background similar to the pedal itself?
What do you mean you bought stock imagery? Oh,
like I just bought this sparkle
gotcha.
Background because I don't have a piece of paper or anything that looks like that. But I just started going down and shooting these things, and I was like, this is kind of cool. It's an interesting project.
Yeah, have you thought about reaching out to these pedal manufacturers at all? I'm sure that this is better than what they probably have.
Some of them have really good images, but I'm just doing like the straight-on, most simple shot you could do.
Yep.
But I feel like, a real pedal manufacturer, they would want 5 or 6 shots of every part of the image, part of the pedal. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then some of these guys, they have like they make dozens and dozens of pedals.
Right.
So maybe I could get a few and be like, hey, I've been doing this project. Do you want to be included in it? Maybe I get some new pedals. I don't need any more pedals. But I have so many back in Charleston that I didn't bring with me. I just brought my favorite with me. So I'm like, there's dozens more I could photograph. I just don't have them in my possession. And then some of them don't look that cool. They look kind of a lot of words and graphics, and they just don't look interesting. But then some of these looked really cool. So that's what I've been working on. And now tomorrow I need to film the actual lesson.
And by film the actual lesson, do you mean I need to film the actual lesson?
You will. I'm going to do a little bit of the shooting section to show the lighting, but then it'll be kind of a Photoshop lesson.
Cool.
Anything you want to talk about?
I guess we can quickly talk about the new Dell XPS 15 and 17 that was announced today. I made a quick video, and I put it on the regular F-Stoppers channel.
I didn't even know they were announcing it.
I didn't know it was going to happen either. And then I saw it, and I have literally been looking to spend around $2,000 on a laptop for the last few days. So when I saw this post, I was on Gizmodo, I was like, yes, this could not be more perfect. And then I look into it, and they have copied the dongle book, and they've just switched all of their ports to USB-C.
What? So the one you were about to buy had how many USB-C ports? Just 1 or 2?
Which one that I was about to buy?
You were about to buy the old 15, right?
The old, I
was
don't
it
think I was going to buy that one, but the current XPS 15, we have 2 of them. It has one Thunderbolt 3 or USB-C
There was
port.
some new Alienware or
I think
last
the Alienware
season's.
might have 1 or 2 of those, but the Alienware that I'm looking at, the Alienware 15M-R2 or M15R2, it's got every port, man. It's got USB-A, Thunderbolt, HDMI, mini display port, Ethernet 2.5 gigahertz. That's rare, man. You can't find.
I didn't even know. I knew there was 1 giga.
Like 1.510.
Well, I just knew 1 in 10. I didn't know.
Okay, yeah.
Because at one point we were buying new cards. Like, do they make routers that are 5, or they just jump up to 10?
I don't know.
Seems like they just skipped all of that. Because there could have been cases where we would have put in our computers a 5. That would have been plenty fast.
Well, they do make little Thunderbolt 3 2.5 gigabit. Have I been saying gigahertz? Sorry. 2.5 gigabit Ethernet adapters for like $30 on Amazon now. So that'll get us.
But that'll take away your 1 USB-C port.
Yeah. But I'm saying for like the one XPS 15 that we're keeping. Anyway, my hopes went so high. I was like, yes, my favorite laptop has been remade. I'm gonna pre-order this right now. To all of my hopes and dreams being destroyed and going, I cannot buy a Windows-based dongle book. I cannot deal with these dongles. They do not work. They are not reliable. I talk so much trash on the MacBook for doing this. I'm not going to support Dell for copying them now.
One problem that we've had with some of our computers, and we definitely have seen it in the MacBook, is that the USB-C ports seem to not be consistently powered accurately. We've had times where we'll plug in something like a switch or, and it's, maybe this is all ports. Maybe it's not just USB-C. But do you feel like that is a problem with the MacBook having 2 on each side?
What do you mean?
That you could plug something in and they're not getting the full power, because USB-C is supposed to be able to power things as well, right? But when they drop in power and it's not adequate, they're always disconnecting and connecting. When we were having that issue, was it with a USB-C Ethernet port, just 1 gigabit? Weren't we connecting to that little mini Synology? And it would cut in and out, and we found out that if you had a mouse plugged into the normal USB, it would pull too much power from the USB-C.
Maybe that's what we found out. I don't know, but it's just like any time I use any dongle, I feel like it's a 50% chance it's going to work today or not.
Because a lot of people just say, buy this big dongle that fits on the side of your MacBook. Maybe it even plugs into the 2 ports.
I've seen that, yeah.
I don't know how if it can manage all that, but some of them just plug into 1. But it gives you like 5 to 10 new ports.
Yeah.
If you plug everything into that 1 USB-C port, the chance of that being underpowered for your 5 or 10 other ports is going to be really high, right?
Well, that's
not a solution.
That's what's so frustrating is like they give you all these ports and the dongles, but then you have to figure out on your own that, I can only use 1 to 2 of them before this whole thing is overloaded and then peripherals stop working. So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. Maybe I'm going to have to buy some crazy looking Alienware with rainbow colored lights on it and stuff just to get the ports I want. It's ridiculous. I feel like we need to go in and invent our own laptop. The truth is, though, I don't know if you followed Razer laptops, the Razer blades.
That's the one everybody's always recommending.
So I have been all over their website, and I mean, their laptops are incredible. It's basically like a MacBook Pro with Windows plus every port you could want. So that's what I want. But when you spec it out the way you would want it, the minimum that you'd want it is like $3,500 for a laptop. Yeah. And if that was my only computer, I could justify it. But we don't use laptops that often. And when we do use laptops, it's for stuff like this. We're surfing the web and putting it on the channel. We don't need some powerful computer. We just need it when we're traveling and it becomes our main computer for a few weeks out of the year. So I just can't justify dropping $3,500 on a laptop right now. But if I get frustrated enough, maybe I will.
You have a VPN? You've been using that, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
I just found out today that The Last Dance, this documentary about the Chicago Bulls, is on Netflix.
It is.
But it is not on Netflix outside of the United States. Netflix is going to release it, or ESPN. I think they went in together and made this documentary. They will release it to Netflix International after the final episode has played on ESPN Plus. Well, we are in America, but we're in Puerto Rico. So I'm seeing all these people post like, the new documentary on Netflix is amazing. And I'm like, why can I not find it? I'm searching it and I'm searching it. And then I go on Google and sure enough, they're like on Netflix. And I'm like, why can I not find this documentary?
So because we're here in Puerto Rico,
yes,
it's part of the United States, so it's falling under that.
No, it's not part of the United States, so it's not released on Netflix here. We're treated as an outside country. Yeah, can you imagine that?
Oh.
Yeah, our Netflix is like blocking that program from airing. So I assume
you know what's
that's
funny though,
international can't
what
watch
you can
this.
do is you can tether your phone to whatever device you're about to watch on.
Well, I tried that. So I just tried to use Netflix on my phone through AT&T, and it doesn't show up on this either. So it's like it knows that I'm connected to an AT&T tower in Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
But I don't know, can you run a VPN somehow through your Apple TV?
Look, they say it's on Netflix in the UK.
What in the world?
Are you sure that it's not the opposite of what you think? Because it would make way more sense that it's available on Netflix in other countries, but it's not available in Netflix
I'm not going
US.
to take the time to pull it up, but I looked up The Last Dance Netflix, and it said on the Wikipedia page or the announcement page at the very bottom, it said it is being released simultaneously, like 2 episodes a week on both platforms, but it will not be shown on Netflix International until after it's all been released. Now, I don't know why the UK and Canada is getting it, but...
See, look, that person says it's on ESPN Plus in the US.
Yeah, on ESPN Plus. I don't have ESPN Plus.
Well, we do have ESPN Plus.
Everybody online is saying, what do you think about the Netflix special? It's not available here on Netflix. That's my point.
But my point is that I bet you're confused, and it's not available on Netflix in the US. The people who are writing that on your Facebook are from outside of the US.
Well, one is Pratik, and he's in Houston.
You sure about that?
I don't know where he is at this very moment.
I bet he's not. He's always in some other country.
We'll have to look it up again. I'm pretty sure. See, it's not on Netflix in Hong Kong. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out how do I watch this, but... Look at that, clean version on ESPN, swearing on Netflix. I want the full
Patrick
experience.
is so wrong.
All right, we'll talk it a little bit, and I will find this article because I just.
What else do I have to talk about?
I mean, it's like right here in my.
The other video that I filmed today was on, and I mentioned this yesterday, was on the fact that I now have had 4 EVGA RTX 2080 graphics cards, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of why my computer keeps burning up these graphics cards. People are saying that it's my power supply, but my power supply is an overpowered EVGA power supply. I've done tests with EVGA on my power supply, and they say that it's very consistent voltage, so it shouldn't be that. I also have plugged in other GTX graphics cards into this computer and used it for weeks, and it's worked fine. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if anybody else has an RTX graphics card currently, and I'm interested to hear if you guys have had any trouble with these cards, because it seems like every couple of months these things die in my computer. I'm getting really tired of it, especially when you spend $800 on an individual graphics card.
All I know is it's not on my phone, and it's not on Netflix on the Apple TV.
Well, you know what? You just should log into my ESPN Plus and watch it.
I tried, and your login information that I know so
Yeah,
well didn't
doesn't
seem to
work?
work. So I don't know what was going on there.
Interesting. Well, anything else you want to chat about, or should we call it for tonight? I am very tired. I'm now getting intoxicated, and I still haven't
Have you
had
been
dinner.
drinking? Is that what's in that?
Hell
Who
yeah.
drinks alcohol out of like a thermos?
It's a, I thought it was like a
Fancy-
outdoorsy wine glass.
Is that what that is?
And it's got a lid, so when I walk down all the stairs, I don't spill it on myself. That's why I like this.
All right. Well, should we wrap this up? And see, it does seem like the comments go way faster there.
Yeah, I think on
Here
our
we're seeing-
YouTube back end, we can see like tons of comments coming in, but then when we actually look at it live with you guys on another page, they come in much, much slower. So I don't know if we're seeing blocked people or YouTube is blocking people, but we can see them all in here. I don't know. It's impossible to read. They're going so fast. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, we would appreciate if you subscribed. If you're watching this on fstoppers.com right now, keep in mind this is a brand new YouTube channel. This is now F-Stoppers Live YouTube channel. We're going to be doing live shows here. And if anybody's interested, yes, we are still waiting on monetization. I have read horror stories that it could potentially take up to 8 months to get that reviewed. Hopefully that's not the case. Other people have said it might take a week to 4 weeks. I don't know. We will see, and I will see you guys all tomorrow. Like our video for us if you would. Good night.